If everyone could just see how I am on the microphone like this, if you can sort of get like that on the microphone, and if you feel like you're too loud or you don't like the sound of your voice, most people hate the sound of their own voice. It's like worse than going to the dentist. Hello, it's the VML voice. You know, a lot of people, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, are spending a lot of money and time trying to get into outer space. But I'm here to tell you it only took me 25 minutes up I-95 to get to the center of the universe. I'm speaking, of course, of the town of Ashland, Virginia. Thank you all for being with me today. We're here to talk about the new town hall, and I guess the first thing I need to ask Josh is, what was wrong with the old town hall?
In short, everything. I can obviously expand on that, but literally every system of the old town hall was failing us from an infrastructure perspective, and then it generally wasn't meeting the needs of the community as well. From a customer service perspective, and just functionally, we couldn't even fit all our staff into the old building. So certainly a good time for a change.
Well, one thing was that we didn't have space for the engineering department at all. At one time, 5 or 6 of us were squeezed into an office that later just became Josh's office, and we moved over to the old fire station. When the fire department built a new building, we moved over there, and that was from the day I started work here in 2005. Where we had that problem, but we had lots of problems, and we looked at many solutions, including expanding outward and upward, and neither of those were viable for a number of reasons.
Okay, and so it sounds like too that not only was the building falling apart, but you didn't even have enough room for the staff, and you were sort of spread out over different locations. Not an ideal situation.
Yes.
At what point was PMA Architects brought into the project? How were they selected, and how did you get wrapped into this project?
The city had put out a request for proposals, so they realized they had this problem with their town hall, and they needed a design team to come in and help them study it and come up with some solutions, work with their community. So we responded to that. The town had an interview team. I recall being at the interview, and there was at least 1, maybe 2 members of the town, citizens there that were part of that process. We had a chance to present to them, and in the end they talked to several firms, and they chose PMA to lead them in this project. Following that, there was a public engagement phase where our design team came out. In fact, I believe we brought almost our whole office up to Ashland, and we sat down, we talked with the team, and presented some ideas to the citizens there, and had a really great exchange, and that was just the beginning of our work together and how it all got started.
What happened to the old building?
It was demolished. Right now it is a permeable paver parking lot to help us meet our
so it's right out in the parking lot where I parked this morning.
Yep.
Was that a painful process for the town to watch the old town hall get torn down before there was a new one?
I think so. There are a lot of folks who had a lot of good memories in there. There may be some who have some bad memories as well, but again, it was an iconic building.
Did you get the beer funnel out before you demolished it?
We did get the beer funnel out, yes.
Yeah,
and we saved a lot of bricks, too.
Yeah.
So we kind of tried to use that as commemorative gifts and things like that, and give it to former council members who had a say in that particular building. So it certainly was difficult for the community.
What did you do during the interim? Where did you set up shop?
We planned it so that this building was being built while we were still in that facility.
So you were able to start using this while that was, okay.
Yeah.
So you literally just carried your stuff like 30 feet across,
100%, literally, yes, that's exactly what happened.
That's great.
Fortunately, we had PMA and Timmons to really be in the nuts and bolts of it, so that we got to make the higher level decisions from an engineering standpoint, and they got it done.
Instead of bringing them into this decrepit building, you're able to bring them into this sort of like bright, shiny building that like presents better.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, we had a big heart for the old building because it was important to the community. But just to be honest, it was slightly embarrassing to bring prospects there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fantastic natural light in this building too. I noticed just walking around.
That was an important part of this, and I think PMA did a good job of trying to bring it into the design. Natural light was important, but we also were looking at it from kind of a theoretical perspective of transparency. We wanted glass, we wanted openness, we wanted the ability for people to see in, and that was important. And so it's an interesting conversation to have, because in today's world, transparency and openness with access to things is great, and everyone loves that idea, but there's also a lot of concern about active shooters and safety of staff, and then COVID comes in and you have to quarantine everything off. And so we did have that little tug of war of how can we be open but also protect our people, and so we had to design to that as well.